This is the Polish PPS43C, made by Pioneer Arms and chambered in 7.62 by 25. Originally designed by Alexa Sudiev, probably botching that pronunciation. It was designed to be a simple, easy to manufacture firearm. This differs from the original because it is a closed-bolt semi-auto handgun. It's a handgun because the stock has been welded in the folded position. It also appears like this piece might have been sectioned in. Looking at images online of the original, it would look like it was all one piece and it did not have this part. Possibly this part was the section 2 cut pieces. Now, one thing right off the bat that impressed me about this gun is it came with 4 magazines. Now, I can't remember the last time I've seen a firearm come with 4 magazines. Usually you're lucky to get 2. I'm ecstatic to get more than just 1 with the handgun. And this one came with 4 35-round magazines. Now, these things are a joy to load. Yeah, it's on this magazine. If you look right here on the back, you can see a number and it's been crossed out. Now, I am a little bit curious why that is. So if anybody knows, please put it down in the comments because I am a little bit curious why you would cross out the serial number. And then there's one written above it that doesn't even match the firearm, so I don't know what that's about. So if you know, I would like to hear it down in the comments. But this is a 35-round magazine that feeds very reliably. Inserting the magazine into the gun is very easy. I mean, it's very intuitive. It clicks right into place, and then to release it, the heel release is very intuitive, right in the right spot. There is a hood right here that protects it from accidentally hitting it, and it does its job. I'm going to show you a mag change on this. So cycling it can be a little bit tricky. The first time I picked it up, I put too much of my hand on that charging handle and my finger rubbed against the folded stock. Again, this has been welded up and it's a little bit uncomfortable, so I like to give it just a little bit of gap between my finger and that stock. So I usually curl it right about here. And you have to watch because it is rounded. That is one thing that's kind of weird about it, is if you get too close to the edge, it's really easy to slip off. But you go in about a finger width on the charging handle and you can avoid scraping yourself on the stock. It is a little bit uncomfortable, but I will say it's not that bad. Do have a dead trigger. Didn't want to work with that one. We have had some issues when it came to the trigger. There's been a couple times it's had a dead trigger after it cycles around in, and I'll check the primer of that round and there's not even a dimple. So I'm not sure what's going on with it. And we did have one case where I think I bump fired it, but it may have been a runaway for all I know. But watching the video, I'm not sure what happened. I'm usually not one to bump fire guns, but this one I did at least one time, and It was a little bit terrifying, and I found myself flinching every shot afterwards. All right, so this firearm had 3 issues that I've noticed. Like I said, the dead trigger. There was a couple times when it wouldn't want to extract the next round. Wasn't really that big of a deal. And the last one was the primers. Now, just like my MP40, it was having bulging primers. Now, the casings looked just fine. I didn't see any, stress marks on the brass, so I kept shooting it and I didn't see any issues, but we were having some bulgings of the primers. And another weird thing I learned about this is make sure you point the firearm down when you're trying to eject a round manually, because if you cycle it like this and try to get it out of there, it can fall into the action of the firearm, which is weird. I've never had that happen. I think I've seen somebody do that on an AK before, but it did happen on this thing a couple times where you would cycle it back just a little bit and then it would fall into the trigger assembly. It was kind of funny. So after all that, if I had to say one major negative with the firearm, I would say the caliber. Now don't get me wrong, I really do like the 7.62 by 25 caliber. I just don't like the price. The best deal I could find online was about 41 cents per round. There was a time when you can get surplus ammunition for like nothing. That time is long gone. I seem to get on the kick of surplus ammo after the surplus ammo is gone. So it's just a curse. So the best deal I could find was about 41 cents per round, and that can get really expensive. That's about what I pay for 45 ammunition. So that was a negative for me because this thing is very expensive to shoot and it goes through rounds quickly, especially since it has 35 round magazines. It is so hard to rapid fire this thing. I tried, but the release is so long that I wasn't able to. 2 rounds was about the best I could do. I tried and I kept pulling the firearm because I was just trying to rapid firing it. The trigger is probably the worst thing on this firearm. It has 2 adjustments to the sight, the 100 yards and the 200 yard marks. I never did try this thing at 100 yards, but with this trigger I might not have been able to hit anything. Alright, that's my group at 20 yards, and I can't say that I'm the steadiest, so I was aiming for the top of the X. The firearm is a little bit heavy. I'll put right here what the actual weight is, but when you're holding it out like this, you can definitely feel the weight, and I found myself getting really shaky with it. The safety on this thing is utterly useless. Let's see if I can even engage it. Nope. There it goes. Now I'm not gonna get it off. It is a very stiff safety and it's utterly useless. Now if you push it back a little bit further and pull the bolt back, you can lock this back. I have not been able to successfully do that on this thing. I've tried a couple times. I mean, it's very uncomfortable trying to hold this thing back and pushing this very stiff piece back, but you push it back and it'll captive or capture the bolt in the rearward position. All right, just gonna hold it like this. I know you shouldn't, but it's getting too hot to hold it any other way. So if you can get past how awkward it is to hold, because it is kind of awkward to hold, that long trigger pull, that useless safety, it's actually a lot of fun to shoot. The 7.62 by 25 round out of this thing feels pretty light, and it's a lot of fun to shoot. It's a pleasant shooter. At the end, it has a folded over muzzle brake, which I think looks really cool. It kind of reminds me of you know, a tank muzzle brake. All right, one thing I really like about this firearm is how easy it is to take apart. There is a button located on the rear of the receiver right here. You push that button, you hinge up this receiver, and it's connected by this part right here, so it's not going to come out. So it's captive. And you flip it over and you pull the bolt back, up, and it comes right out. That is all there is to it. And then you can pull the recoil spring out. Okay. See how easy that was? And I'm on camera. Usually things are 10 times harder when you're on camera. Now, would I say this is a defensive gun? Well, no, this is a plinker. But it is a lot of fun to shoot, and I definitely recommend it if you're looking into buying one of these things. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming up in the future.
Hello, I'm a man round. I make your fun go away. Yay!
Jackass.